It's down to 7. Now FaZe is quite comfortable on these maps. We know that there's some versatility on the part of Pain as well. And the style of play that Pain will typically use is roam heavy, strong anchor work. Usually the floating member of their roster will stick a little closer to site, typically going with 3 anchors and 2 roamers. FaZe Clan will be banning first, then we'll jump to Pain. And I'm interested to see. You don't have Clubhouse, you don't have Oregon. Okay, we know that Pain Gaming has played Clubhouse.
No Border.
Did a pretty decent job. We'll have a new map for today, as Border is the first ban. And then we'll wait for the rest here. I'm interested to see where we end up going.
Yeah, I mean, very unlikely to be Villa, but that would certainly be fun. It's something that we've seen regions play occasionally, but it hasn't quite become mainstream yet. Coastline was another good map that had seen a lot of play and is now banned in this one. Consulate is also seen a bit of a resurgence lately, so possibility we could be going there. If not, then Bank will be the choice probably, as I doubt Villa is going to go. There goes Consulate, though. So most likely to be Bank for the final choice, and it is.
So Bank, a very interesting matchup. One of FaZe's best maps.
Yeah.
Handed Evil Geniuses their first loss in an official capacity on this map ever. The Invitationals just in February. They look really good. Bank, for a long time, was one of Latin America's most played maps as well, but it's seen a very fast decline.
Yeah, it's only been played 3 times this season overall. 2 of those times, though, were by Pain in the first half of the season, which they unfortunately tied both of those. So I'm not sure if this is a great map for Pain, but at least a competitive map for them. And the third time was not either of these 2 teams. So FaZe have yet to show their Bank this season within Pro League. That's not to say that they haven't shown it outside of Pro League.
Right.
But this is definitely going to be on Pain's shoulders to do better than they had the previous 2 times and read into whatever FaZe's defense or offense is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, these teams in Latin America are usually well-versed here. It's one of NIP's best maps typically as well.
Yeah.
FaZe, we know, does extremely well on it. Liquid has performed okay on this matchup as well, or on this map as well, especially if you trace them all the way back to when they were BRK in previous seasons. So this right now, I mean, you've got 2 games, you said, for Pain. They tied both of them. FaZe, very, very strong on this map. Obviously, I would be quite confident here were I FaZe.
Yeah, I mean, at least you know Pain is willing to play this map and can play competitively on it. But the fact that neither of them could, or, I mean, they couldn't close out either of those 2 definitely shows that they have some work to do on it, but maybe they've done that work since then. Maybe they've shored things up a bit, because both of those times, I believe, were in the first half of the season. So they have had some time to think about their Bank game since then. We'll see how these bans go, whether or not they favor either team as well. Habana is not too unusual for this map, although that is, I wouldn't say the most critical operator to ban on this, but it certainly will mess with some of the team's attacks occasionally.
It immediately, and with Lion gone, that's a smart bet and a smart gambit here from FaZe. With Hibana banned, though, it makes it a lot more difficult for the attackers. Now, I'm going to probably suggest that with FaZe banning Clash Out, that's probably a direct counter to an operator who right now doesn't have as many counters, and number 1. And number 2, it also takes out 9XT. Now, with Hibana being banned, I would imagine you might have a Mira ban, but no, it'll be Echo instead. So interesting. The Mira remaining unbanned, the Smoke remaining unbanned, Valkyrie as well, Maestro also being unbanned. This really helps the defense an awful lot. Losing Hibana as a hard breacher means that you're going to have to rely solely on your Thermite to get either 1 hatch, 2 hatches, the server wall, possibly a hatch above if you're defending up top. And I mean, it's also going to change the way that the attackers have to deal with CEO, because you can't, you know, take the long range advantage that comes from the XKROS on possibly the banana wall.
Yeah.
You can't take it onto Castle barricades, and this is also a very strong play for Castle. So most of the attacks onto CEO upstairs will now need to come onto the CEO wall.
Something they can do is bring the Maverick to help with some of that, but like you said, the range obviously is an issue. He still has to get up close. But he is someone that can assist even. I know it's not the most popular idea, but there are certain hatches you don't necessarily need to drop down. You just use his fire angles. You can open holes in.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, we've seen Maverick before be used on those CEO walls, but I mean, it also hinges on whether or not it's a Thermite or a Hibana that gets banned. One of Hibana's greatest assets here is that a lot of teams will run a dual hard breach. They'll have Hibana grab the 3 hatches from above. You'll have Thermite take out the wall downstairs inside a server, leading into CCTV. That's crucial for teams. That is not available now. Because you find yourself with just the Thermite, you're probably going to take 1 hatch.
They do have someone that can help protect him for doing the hatches, though, the Montaigne, which they expect. They have someone that can stand there and kind of shield Thermite a little bit while he's doing his work. But yeah, there's going to be a lot less they can open.
It's also going to empower the Mira as well as any smokes, but I mean, Pain's not running a smoke.
Yeah.
So their plant denial is going to come in the hands of what I'd imagine are probably going to be 4 C4s, unless Revolts is bringing impacts. You've got to imagine that 1 set of barbed wire on FK1 and Nitro Cells on the rest. Nitro Cell on Valkyrie, Nitro Cell on Mira, Nitro Cell on Capkin, and Nitro Cell on Pulse. There's 4 explosives in the hands of Pain Gaming, and this could be a very deliberate and strategic play to see how this is going to work against FaZe.
To be fair, smokes, I'd say do a little bit more damage often on a Monty than C4s. But yeah, 4 of them is definitely going to do some work. However, it hasn't stopped them from opening anything up. This is a lot of time not wasted taking control and opening up that wall within basically a minute.
Opening up both walls now, and it looked for a second there that the Montaigne of Yuno was going to be able to throw out a smoke. He's fully extended, and a C4 in hand for the Mira. 9XT just trying to possibly bait the Montaigne out and have the rest of the team jump in. You've got the Pulse as well of spawns inside a vault, just waiting, or gold as it's called, giving information.
Well, they are setting up for the C4 throw, but this bait actually so far not working too well for them. Oh, there we go, 9XT. Nicely done on Moringa. He's done his job, though.
That was a great job, and that was a well-placed C4. As you can see, the patience is Spawn giving the information to the Mira. Now the Zofia of Astro is going to put pressure on the Mira, but there goes 2 more C4s that'll get tossed out, or 1 rather, as it looks like it's the Valkyrie who will expend hers. Still at the pulse of Spawns, who'd pushed up for just a second, but you won't see as much success. They're just going to continue to chip away at the HP from Yuna. Revolts has also used his C4, so you, now the final C4 from Spawns will go out onto Mav, so excellent job. Yuna also down, but look at that. Cameraman very, very close to getting a kill. He'll drop 9XT to very low amounts of HP. Yuna finished off. It's all up to Astro, and Cameraman, a great shot from Cameraman as he tries to close this gap. But right now, it's Pain Gaming very firmly in the driver's seat. Astro rotating from above, won't have any of those hatches opened up because there is no Hibana. They lost their Thermite early on. Cameraman is just going to continue to buy time. I think Astro's going to go for a rotate through Garage, but he's got 15 seconds. Not a ton of time. You see also the Capkin playing this tight angle as Cameraman just tries to pick away through the bars, but Cameraman hits the deck and will get dropped from Revolts. Astro comes in for the flank, but in desperation, lands 1 impactless frag. Revolts pulls out the pistol and finishes off that round. Not running with the PMM, interestingly enough. Needs it for maybe the larger magazine. But anywho, ultimately, very well read from Pain, and excellent usage of those C4s to just continuously knock a little bit of HP off of the shield and get the priority kills onto the planters on FaZe.
I mean, that right there is why I'm not a big fan of the Monty push onto lockers, because it just so rarely works. I mean, it's a great idea, and you see what they're trying to do, but the thing is, like, oh, you're like, I can see when those C4s are thrown out because I'm Monty and I'm standing here watching. But guess what? There's Pulse sitting there timing those C4 throws. So they're not having to peek for no reason. They're not having to try and guess when to stop the plant. They have the exact knowledge that they need. So in the game of counter intel going on there, defenders are at the advantage, and with all the C4 you mentioned and not needing the smoke, they were in such a good position to stall it. I liked the idea of rotating to the Garage, but it was so late in the game. If he had done that, say, 30 seconds earlier, that could have been a huge game changer. We could have seen maybe them able to take that. I like that push in with Ash crawling inside the bomb site. But from there, all he could do was just wait for his buddy to show up.
Yeah, I mean, there was very clearly a plan behind what Pain was doing with the C4s, and I think they anticipated, especially with the Capkin, though I don't know necessarily how much of the Capkin was brought for those traps. Usually when teams bring a Capkin out, it's likely just to try to slow people down. But I mean, you've also got impacts available, which only you know, a scant few operators have available to them. You know, you possibly have an extra C4 if you need it. Not that Pain needed C4s by any stretch of the imagination there, as they had plenty. But it was calculated the way that they designed that, was continuously have bodies playing at that mirror window. And I think that speaks to why, as well, Pain didn't ban the mirror out when they had that second ban, instead opting to ban the Echo. So one thing I talked about with the Hibana ban for Pain is it's going to make Thermite be very obvious as to how he plays out attacking CEO, which is where we see Pain going for the second time. It looks like right now, for the time being, Pain have been very deliberate in their operator bans, in their setups, and so on, and this speaks quite well to the way that the team as a whole is functioning. The question that then you turn to is, these setups can be done with great intentions, but they can get picked apart pretty easily. It's incumbent upon FaZe to be able to cut through it if they want to be able to earn these round victories. It's not going to come easy to them.
Well, FaZe should have a better idea how to play against Pain, seeing as Pain had played and demonstrated strats on this map earlier, although those strats may have deviated a bit by now. But nonetheless, FaZe doesn't seem to be bringing anything that especially counters what Pain's doing. So it makes me question that either the strategies are not the same, or maybe FaZe just didn't necessarily do a lot of homework on that to prep for that, which I doubt is the case.
Yeah, I mean, this is a completely different team with 9XT. It precipitated, or it prompted, rather, quite a number of role swaps. It took their main IGL and Yuna as well out of it. And
who's still here?
Yeah, I mean, he's still here. He's just on the other team. So this is definitely something that has been major changes for Pain Gaming. FaZe right now knocking on this door. They made their way up to Banana at the top of those main stairs. Yuno, once again, as the Montaigne, is just being a major point of focus for Pain. And speaking of Pain, they'll lose the dock with about a minute to go. Good kill from the Blackbeard of Mav. The dock in this position is just going to be an ACOG that you can rely upon to possibly keep people from getting into the lobby, but it won't really work out. Spawns peeks needlessly onto Astro and will just get gunned right down, but Cameraman traded off a couple seconds later, a refrag from Pain. 9XT also primed to possibly get a kill here, as he's going to push all the way up to the main stairs before peeling off and now heading back into the conference room.
With the pinch now between the Montaigne and the Blackbeard, this is going to be really hard to even potentially retake, especially as FK1 goes down. It's down to 2v4.
It's a very weird position to find a Thermite this late in the round, but I mean, good coverage from Moringa there. Plant from Yuna going down. The Vector of 9XT will just shred right through Astro, and then the successful plant from the Shield Operator. This is dire straits for Pain on this round. They had a great setup going, and now the Montaigne of Yuna just trying to cover Mav as much as possible. The Vector a high rate of fire, but can't land the shots it needs. Mav almost goes down, but will simply outduel 9XT. 3 kills for the Blackbeard, and FaZe will tie it up.
Much better round for FaZe that time, better use of the Montaigne. I say that because they used the Montaigne for a pinch. In that case, it wasn't just like when they attacked downstairs, where they were all just stacked up at one doorway, something we saw Liquid struggle a lot with in the previous match. No, they had a pinch situation. They had the ability to attack Janitor. They had the ability to potentially thermite the walls they needed. They had the ability to push in with that Monty where he was. They had the Blackbeard on the window. They were surrounding and collapsing on Pain. That's what they should have been doing in the first round, and that's where they failed. So a good change up from them in terms of actually utilizing all the operators to the full extent and having the positions around them early on instead of having someone like Astro trying to rotate late for that. They are going to tease the Monty, though, but not stick it this time, and they're going to bring a Jackal instead of the Blackbeard. So we'll see. We are going open area, so surprisingly they don't want to play tellers at all.
Which is very peculiar, given, I mean, Hibana is not necessarily an operator that you need to be able to take take Teller's archives.
It certainly helps, though.
She's not that pivotal. They're deliberately taking the sites where Hibana is an excellent counter. Hibana has a ton of usage on open area down here, especially against Castle, and as I said at the start, having a Thermite is going to be a huge buff to Castle, because the only way outside of expending some soft destruction, if you're going to use the exothermic charge, you're going to need to be up close and personal.
It means a lot of work for Astro, potentially, because he's really the only one who can do any work on those. So yeah.
10
Or
seconds remaining.
possibly the frag grenades of Mav as well. Don't sleep on the fact that Yuno with Finka also now has frag grenades.
That's true. That's a
too,
good
so
point. I was gonna say I wouldn't trade Buck's frag grenades for those because it feels like the trade utility isn't worth it. But if you've got two people sets of frags and Yuno maybe not necessarily playing as aggressive as Buck, I think that's probably a good point in terms of you have the ability to take those out with those grenades.
Now, I like that this has been imported here from Pain Gaming, and it was something that we saw when Yuno was on the team previously. These Finka rush strats that Pain has pulled off a number of times to quite good success most of the time. It's been something that's been moved over to FaZe now as well, but on Pain's side of things, they're going to be thwarted by the fact that there will likely be mute jammers that will, for a time being, at least slow down FaZe's information gathering to know where to push exactly with the Finka boost going as well.
At least they got a Jackal track to help make up for that.
Absolutely. They've also got the Legion mines there that will stop the push in its tracks too. So there's two good opportunities for Pain to be able to slow down any onslaught that FaZe could possibly muster. On top of this, keep in mind that Finka went from having a 20-second boost to a 10-second boost. So you need to be a lot more precise and synchronized when you do hit the adrenal surge of Finka, because you don't have the same amount of time to go with it.
Yeah, you definitely have to time that. Of course, that's assuming you stay alive long enough to get to that phase, as it's generally kind of a late play. You don't necessarily use a ton of them early on, unless you're helping someone, for example, push a roamer, and they want that little extra boost.
Astro here just with some caliber-based destruction. He'll manage to open up one of the castle barricades with his first explosive round from that lifeline as well. The open area hatch from above, and you'll find Castle's footprints as cameraman is just going to do some surveillance work. Now, as with a lot of teams when they're defending A, they won't actually sit inside of open area. They'll usually sit on the peripheral, maybe inside of that teller's office, maybe inside of the staff open area. As you can see, that's where Revolts is right now, in that staff room, and then of course in the admin office, which is where 9XT is playing. It's retake potential, and this is a site that often ends up being quite retake heavy because you're going to set yourself up to essentially sit off site and wait for the push.
This is a very open setup for being in an open area in terms of the amount of walls and other sight lines that they've opened up. Smoke actually thwarting 9XT there in his ability to defend that, and he is picked off finally by Mav and followed up by Astro onto Revolt.
Two big kills for FaZe. As you can see, the Finka boost just wears off. Spawns and GCR will rotate in. Diffuser goes down. Moringa doing full court press. Spawns and GCR, though, right now, unabated. They'll pick up two big kills that are needed. Mav will take out Spawns, and that means it's just GCR who's going to get some pings for his teammates, but Astro pops up a great shot, and FaZe will put two in a row. Once FaZe read that open area was essentially free for the taking, they dropped, put pressure on the staff area, put pressure on that admin office, and then that was it. It was too late of a rotate for Pain, whether the call came late or whether the call came early and they just couldn't get the rotate off in time. Pain unable to get and contest the site, and it was all over after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a situation, too, where they couldn't really necessarily roam to counter a lot of the setup that was coming down. The Jackal being in play, of course, didn't help with that as well in terms of late rotates up, as he was definitely using his new buffed range to get some good intel, just locking them down as much as possible so that they couldn't get any map control back. They were pretty much forced to defend in positions that were fairly predictable, right? There's only a few spots you can really hang out in open area, especially with all the sight lanes they open up, where you're going to be safe. And that just led to some predictability that FaZe was able to exploit once they were able to get a lot of map control and surround them. There was at least some of them playing a little bit off-site, like you saw with GCR playing towards those stairs, but that in the end, he was playing in a retake position at that point because they managed to get in and get the diffuser down. I'm interested to see how this goes down, though, and now that they're going to play this site again, this time they faked the Monty and went 6-pick off them, so I got to imagine this should go a little bit better for FaZe this time, trying to play it a little bit differently, maybe a little more smart. In this case, though, they are going to have a lot of C4 on the board, again, from the defenders. I got to imagine that Revolt is still going to be carrying that C4 on mute as well.
So deliberately, these tactics that are being employed, it was the only successful time that we saw a defense from Pain so far, albeit we're just under a third of the way possibly through this matchup if we end up going to the full 10 rounds. FaZe will also forego that shield. They'll put Yuna back on the support role, this time onto the Thatcher. Also be tasked with getting the diffuser off. Interesting that they don't run with the hard breach diffuse that we see a lot of teams go through. Moringa has usually playing those support roles as well. Doesn't typically play the fragger role. He typically will go with the intermediary, as it's often called, or the flex role. And he's not going to be carrying that diffuser. They've been relying on Yuna to be able to get it down. I think after the first round when they lost Moringa, it's been a transition ever since then. Cameraman once again will get the footprints of another member of Pain. Did so in the previous round, quite successfully, found the castle. This time, he'll find the Valkyrie, and that's GCR playing at the bottom of server stairs. It's going to get droned as well as Jackal tracked, and just stay completely static. But now, the Jaeger's footprints will be found instead from Cameraman up top. And that's FK1 who's going to get tracked, which means the GCR pressure is off, barricading the doorway into servers and then just completely scrambling away.
Great job by Cameraman getting full use of that Jackal. And I like the new range is definitely being shown off a lot here, taking advantage of the ability to scan from above. It's definitely paying off for them. Nice clear here by Astro for whatever he can find in there, I suppose.
Opening up the window just in case he does need to go for a rotate later on. If you recall, they were thwarted in part by time.
That's true.
And now this means that if there needs to be a rotate over towards the garage side of things, FaZe have that opened up. Those can be crucial seconds that when you're just kind of treading water in the midst of a round, as it appears that FaZe is right now, you have the time to do that. You might as well take the opportunity.
Ooh.
Oh, a great grenade tossed in from Mav, and so long GCR. And now Mav using the skeleton key to put more pressure on the defenders below. He'll get another grenade ready and toss it in, but he'll miss by just an inch. Frustrating for Mav. That could have been an easy kill on 9XT, who will now get Jackal tracked. So there's what you get for your efforts. It's also, this has pushed everybody from Pain off of the middle of Vault all the way over into B site. The only person that is close enough to possibly contest is Spawns. And as the Pulse, that's a great spot to be in.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to move out of that unless he's sure he can land a C4 throw. But at least 9X is still able to hang out in that area. They are going to start to set up for the plant, though, with the smoke. However, that's going to be red, I got to imagine, to go for a C4 throw, but they're going to go potentially plant in the middle of the room.
Excellent coverage right now, but Yuna will be stopped right as he's about to finish off the plant. 9XT, a great C4 toss. Keep in mind, Pain still have another left. Revolt's under pressure, and it's a 4v4. Mav with a little bit of damage done to him, but it's 9XT and FK1 with really low HP. Spawns a double kill. Astro trades it off. Moringa going for the plant. Very vulnerable. Revolts will need to be the one to jump in here with 9XT. He'll get cut down, but no, Revolts comes in! What a clutch play! They'll fall off the diffuser, and an inadequate amount of coverage will mean Pain Gaming steal the round.
Well, we found the one site that can win consistently. Fortunately for them, they cannot play it again. So that, if things continue the way they are so far, is going to leave FaZe with a 1-point advantage going into the round switch. If they can succeed again here, they are going to go to Tellers, though, finally. So it is rare that we see this. You usually don't see teams go to a fourth site, as they don't really need to. But in this case, Open was a bit of a gamble, so this makes a little more sense to see them use this here. Something they wanted to try, but obviously it didn't work out too well, so we'll see if Tellers can give them some slight advantage. Assuming GCR doesn't 6th pick off, that we'll see him on that Vigil potentially roaming, try and help the site. This might be a little more roamer friendly. They're obviously going to have people upstairs as well as down to try and defend this. It is going to be on them to try and pinch this. They are going to try and bring that Monty again, though, rather than that Finka. I mean, maybe they're thinking CEO is going to be the play, which is what I would expect, right? That was where they played after Lockers last time. So they're bringing their attacker lineup that worked for that site. I'm not sure if they're going to have the same level of planning for the Monty for this particular bomb site. As it can be tricky, you still could use him upstairs, I suppose, for pushing on some of the roamers and taking that upstairs control. But downstairs is pretty tricky to use a Monty in that lobby if they have any map control left.
I like what Pain is bringing to the table here, though. The setup that they're doing, shooting out the entire bottom of the soft wall
10 seconds remaining.
Inside of Tellers, typically you will have an ACOG being situated somewhere in that vicinity to take advantage of the long range that you can engage in onto those marble stairs.
Locate a bomb and defuse it. Defender has left.
As you can see, Pain not going for that, but a possible spawn peek here from Spawns, living up to his namesake. He'll collide with the Monte, and then of course the shield will just deflect all of those bullets.
Unfortunate.
A gamble from Spawns could have been quite successful had it been literally any other operator.
Yeah, well, either way, though, he isn't punished for it at least, and that's the important thing for him. He does manage to get away. Now they got to be much more wary as they go in, because now they know that Spawns is on the roam. Unless he, of course, rotates all the way back to site. But they are still going to be droning and trying to figure out whether or not they can take that top floor control and how many people will have to contest with upstairs. And as usual, it's going to be a 2-3 split with at least, I think, a third one downstairs on the roam. There is Spawns.
Playing where Valkyries will inside of that server position, advantageous. You can keep a good sight of the electrical room down below. You can also look all the way towards the staff area portion of open area, the staff room. Those have got 9XT helping him there. And then, of course, Spawn's not too far off-site as well. So this is going to be that intermediary role, aggressive site as he's playing very close to site. It's not a full-fledged roam. It's still technically off-site play, but you're close enough where you can get back at any time. I mean, that MPX, as you said, it's a P shooter. As long as you're hitting them on the head, it doesn't really matter what the damage does. But Spawns is just very patiently waiting for the calls. He'll set a pre-placed C4 and he'll get tossed up, but I don't know if that was wrong information or not, and then immediately Spawns will just run for safety. Mav will get the lead-off kill onto GCR the Vigil, whose cloaking ability does not stop you from seeing a Blackbeard, surprisingly, and Mav will be able to walk away with that first kill. As well, worth noting that the Valkyrie of Spawns still has one camera available. FK1 jumps up, sees the Blackbeard, and will feast on that, but Cameraman is there to go for the refrag. A great trade-off from FaZe, but you've lost a really powerful part of FaZe's push, given the fact that you traded out a Jaeger for it.
Well, in this case, though, they still have the man advantage, which is the important thing, and we still have not seen a lot come out of Spawns' roam. He is at least able to roam still, but nonetheless, they're able to pressure around, take control of the top floor. Now they have all the angles they need here. I mean, yeah, it would have helped to have a shield on your face, but they've still got more than enough attacking power to take the site, assuming they don't spend so much time upstairs trying to find hits that they don't actually pressure the site itself.
Spawns on these marble stairs, the main stairs, excellent position to greet the Zofia, as you can hear one of those explosives from the lifeline open up the wall, or from the lifeline open up the wall, but it does look like they're just going to cut off Spawns. You're going to have two smokes go out, but if the Valkyrie plays this correctly, who's now mid-rotate, this could have been a good opportunity to hold it off. Plant going down, baits out the C4. 9XT will miss. Moringa losing a huge amount of damage. Second C4 will hit its target. Goodbye, Moringa. This is just Pain clobbering them. 2 kills from Revolts. A jump in Astro getting good coverage. Plant will have to go down, but Astro will miss. Yuna very vulnerable. And wow, what a round from Pain. Doubling up on these C4s, and FaZe just cannot cover time and time again. Pain will walk away with the first half, 3-2.
Pain are going to have to change their name to Team C4 at this point. Seems to be their most effective weapon in their arsenal. I like that flick to this roof as well from Revolts. Right after he gets the C4 throw, whips around, shoots someone just above him, gets that kill as well. So some good play in there. A nice attempt, though. I feel like FaZe definitely had a lot of map control, had the man advantage, were able to open up the wall and pressure in. But it seems like C4 was the one thing they weren't able to completely factor in. Sure, they managed to dodge that first one, but when you're dealing with Pain, it seems you have to prepare for a lot of C4s to be thrown. We will see how FaZe do on their lockers defense, though, as they are going to start there, and we have the rounds switch here. And Pain going to be trying their attack. They are going to be bringing that Jackal as well, of course. This is Jackal's home turf here on Bank, essentially.
It is one of the maps where we see a disproportionate amount of Jackal play, and I only say that because he doesn't really see a huge pick rate elsewhere.
No. I mean, I wouldn't say any other map is like, oh, this is a Jackal map for sure.
Villa, I would say, is one where it's not
That's true.
strange to see him get a high amount of picks because of the fact that it's a huge map.
Yeah.
I don't know, and this is something I'd actually like to get official numbers on. Bank, for the longest period of time, was the biggest map in the Pro League rotation. I don't know now if Villa has eclipsed Bank in terms of size. It's something that I would actually like to get official documentation on. I'd like to see the papers, please. I'd like to see the schematics, if we have those available to us. Call in the architects, as you call them.
We gotta go down to City Hall and look those blueprints up.
I would like to go speak with the engineers and all those who helped design these maps. So the bigger the map, the more strength that you usually will see from a Jackal. It's going to cut down on very roam-heavy teams. you know, that's Pain Gaming. Once again, as I said, FK1 and GCR usually do quite a sufficient job of roaming. You also saw Spawns was doing a lot of roaming there for the team, playing that intermediary role. I mean, FaZe themselves, don't count out how strong FaZe can be on the roam, especially with Astro and now with either Yuna, Cameraman, or Mav, as there's a lot of flexibility there for this team to be able to assign different members to doing different duties off-site. Instead, they're going to have Moringa and Cameraman work on-site. Cameraman with lots of clutch ability, typically fulfilling that mirror role.
Yeah, surprising to see him on Maestro, which can work in some ways sort of similar, but it is good to see a Maestro as well, as we did not see that at all from Pain, I believe. So we'll see if he's going to be useful on this site. They also have the Black Eyes as well as Pulse. So it is going to be a lot of intel again coming out from FaZe, like we were seeing in on Border as well. So should be interesting to see if that's able to factor into it a lot. We saw, for example, with Spawns wasn't the greatest at using his cameras in the sense that he would end up with one in his pocket and missing C4 throws that could have potentially benefited from an extra camera. So hopefully FaZe is more than able to use all the utility that they have on defense.
Yeah, it's funny that Pain was able to squander a couple of those C4s, but they just had so damn
Yeah, it's true.
They had so many of them that it doesn't really matter, you know. I do think that this map will typically skew more towards the defense side of things, especially given the Hibana ban. So, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me. Also, keep in mind, we still have Mira open. So, the conventional wisdom is that the defense should be able to run up the score here. The fact that FaZe kept it so close could be one of two things. Either number one, it's just going to show that FaZe were able to stick with it even though they had the disadvantage of starting on attack. Or maybe the attackers do have something going in their favor and, well, Pain Gaming looks like the better team. ADS is going to catch one grenade of GCR, a bit of a miscue there as he'll prime the second one, and EMP thrown deep will land, and there you go. So long to the Evil Eye cam. That's going to be a bit of relief on Pain Gaming's part as they will try to take that CCTV wall wide open. Valkyrie cameras and one Evil Eye still left, giving information to FaZe. Yuna lying prone here at the soft wall. Smoke's going down, just trying to cut off FaZe, but still, they have not been able to get in and begin a plant. That wall also is still upright. 9XT, the Thermite, is in the middle of the site. He's going to be taken out by Moringa, and Astro is there as well. Diffuser is down, Revolts and Spawns with 2 big kills. Yuna will finally find his first, and all they need to do is just sit and wait. Spawns is the only person with a pulse still left. It's Moringa. Had managed to take down Revolts earlier on. 2 big kills for Yuna, as playing that shield operator didn't really have much of a role of getting kills earlier on. He finds 2, he gets his. We're tied up at 3 apiece.
Good defense there, definitely playing it smart towards the end. I think Astro was definitely a big difference in that, in the way he flicked around and basically defended the flanks that were coming out. So like they threw the smoke in Red Hall in a way that cut off their ability to rotate out to defend against people dropping down the hatch, which was a smart idea. Throw the smoke there, then when you drop hatch, they're not going to be able to rotate to defend that. But they weren't counting on Astro hanging out at the bottom of those stairs, was in the perfect position to take out that Thermite on the rush, then flick around and take out the other person running down main stairs. So I'd say he was pivotal in that defense working right there because he was able to cover that essential flank. And overall, though, we have seen both teams winning lockers so far every single time. So the question for me is, of course, how are they going to do on these secondary sites? Tellers, rather than CEO, is going to be that second choice for them.
And I mean, so much of the way that Pain defended Teller's Archives last time around was they just kept bodies inside of Archives as FaZe had to attack Tellers. There was a good roam presence from Pain upstairs. It cut down a couple members of FaZe. FaZe didn't have time on their side. They went to push in. 2 C4s, primed and ready, caught them when they were trying to get the plant off, essentially caught them with their pants down at that point, and, well, that was really all she wrote. So this time around, if you look at the way that FaZe is running things, well, they're going to have 2 C4s on the board from both Yuna and Mav, so there is the possibility there for a similar play from FaZe. No ACOGs being brought means that they're going to try to typically stay to closer range engagements rather than trying to fend off any would-be near-do-wells from the main lobby, for example. But you also see Cameraman doing the castle barricade setup in such a way that it's going to slow down any assault that Pain Gaming will be able to throw at them inside of CEO and upstairs, as well as we saw the mirrors getting put down from Yuna inside of the conference room. So you have FaZe investing very heavily above, similar to what we saw out of Pain.
Well, in this case, as you were talking about the C4s, there is actually 4 plant denial operators on the team FaZe right now, because you've got, yes, 2 C4s from Mav and Yuna, but you also have Moringa on the smoke, and not to count out Astro and the Legion, because there are only a few plant spots on this bomb site that are pretty predictable, like the one that they C4'd. You can put a Legion mine in those spots and deny their ability to plant for a few seconds, which will buy you time to either smoke or C4 at that point. So it's not complete plant denial, but it is definitely plant delay, something they can use to their advantage for the other defenders to be able to use. So I think they are in a good position to potentially stop that, but here we go. They're going to start opening up walls here from the Thermite, and the impact nade does not stop it.
It just misses. It might have gone off a bit too high. GCR, excellent job.
Wow.
So long. Astro absolutely vanquished. And we will bid goodbye to the Legion. That means Cameraman is the only one to watch this open hole inside of CEO office. Diffuser will get dropped, so likely being juggled from Pain Gaming. They haven't lost anything whatsoever on this entry. Taken about 90 seconds or so. Great grenade as well from the sledge, so GCR really putting in a ton of work. A blind fire through the wall of Mav will connect with FK1. He'll take a bit of damage, and then Yuna, I don't know if his C4 got shot or what, but that C4 will net absolutely nothing. Cameraman and Mav both playing closely above. You hear another C4 go off. Spawns will take some damage, but none of those C4s really being that effective. Mav peeking around the corner of Conference. He'll find GCR so long. 9XT gets Cameraman, so it's a refrag. You'll lose the sledge. Now FK1 will get downed. 9XT putting in great work. He'll try to get the rest of his teammates up as FK1 needs to be revived. 9XT losing a lot of HP in the process. It's just Moringa and Yuna last alive, and they're downstairs. You've got 2 pivotal anchors that can possibly hold this off.
Not to mention the low health of FK1 and 9XT. If they can take advantage of that and get those guys off the board early to make this a 2v2, they can work this on time alone, because 30 seconds here isn't a ton of time to get down for the actual plant, as they don't have anything open for that.
This is very bad for FaZe right now. You've bought both the Jackal and the Capitao up. Possibility for a lot of smokes. You can cut off the site quite readily with those asphyxiating bolts. Moringa will manage to evade those flashes as now Yuna pushes up, reading correctly that it's going to be a push in through Tellers. Mark's going down. 9XT, what a shot onto Yuna! And Moringa will need to clutch. This is crucial. He'll be getting pings. He'll get pushed. He'll drop one with the SMG. Sees another, but peeks around the corner. Spawns finishes it off. That was as close as it can get. And Moringa, one poor decision away from possibly getting that diffuser. Excellent read from the Jackal. Pain retaking the lead.
Yeah, losing that Mira early on that peak from 9XT definitely changed things a lot for them. That was a big play, because against 9XT had such low health. He was in a position where it was pretty easy for him to get wiped off the board with 1 or 2 bullets. Like I said, you had a few others as well of fairly low health. So they were in not the greatest position to push that with sheer manpower, but definitely managed to pull it off well. Of course, that first kill segregated the smoke much further off. He had to push in, try and fight that. I mean, it was a good read by him on fighting the Archive's door, but it wasn't enough to completely stop 4 people. They are going to switch over to CEO this time, so we'll see how they fare on that. But Pain definitely in the driver's seat at the moment. They have the point advantage here at 4-3. Not quite map and match point, but definitely a bit of a lead, and I think that was definitely not the best round for them, but they managed to pull it off, and that is definitely going to put FaZe in a tough position here to come back on this, because so far they've only won 1 defensive round and 2 attack rounds before. So see how things go here. So not a lot changing up other than the bomb side here.
Yeah, I like that they're not going back down to Tellers and Archives. Going upstairs to CEO makes an awful lot of sense. This was something that Pain did early on. Their second round, they go up to CEO. Now, the setup was really strong, and I think that they did everything in their power to try to use the operator bans and the way that FaZe plays to Pain's advantage. FaZe will not be bringing a castle, which means that you don't need to expend your soft destruction as pointedly. You can be a little bit more conservative with it. You won't need it to try and take out the castle barricades.
Yeah, that's definitely a big difference.
Also, as we know, we typically don't try to focus on the amount of possible ACOG play that gets done in every single site. But on this site in particular, it's very commonplace to see a Doc or a Rook above, because you can try and battle anybody who's on rappel by the main doors.
Especially people like Kanto.
Exactly. Or I think back to Jarvis as well
Yeah.
from SK, who was able to get an ace playing in that position with an ACOG earlier this season against Mouse as well. And then yes, Kanto playing the dock up top, deploy, the bulletproof camera, half reinforcement on the wall leading into the main lobby. It's a very powerful position for you to be in because you can engage your opponents at the long range angles that the attackers get from having so many ACOGs on their loadouts.
Yeah. Well, in this case, we'll see if it matters. They do at least have one ACOG here, of course, on the LMG of Maestro that Yoon is playing now. They are going to try and avoid the impact tricking if they can here on this wall. They're going to throw a grenade to try and counter it. No, unfortunately for them, does not do the job. C4 thrown out as well. Does find one and nearly kills GCR as well. Great plays by the defense here. FaZe absolutely stopping them in their tracks.
You say, well, we'll toss out one projectile. All right, well, here's another. This one's a bit more
Here's a
lethal.
refund.
Yeah. Here you go. Your exothermic charge didn't work.
Well,
All right. Well, here's what you get for your trouble.
So.
Revolt's going on to rappel up here by the main doors. This is the angle that I said that with an ACOG you can possibly contest, especially from Banana. For those that aren't familiar, we'd like to give any callouts that people might not necessarily understand right away. Banana is that play up top, which is exactly where Revolt's is looking. It's the crescent moon style of balcony that you can see. It looks similarly shaped to a banana, and that's why it ends up getting called Banana.
Such logic. Well, they're going to be sprinting into lobby here and easily caught out and gunned down. They are going to spot the second one as well. Great placement of that camera is really punishing them here, although FK1 is a lot more cautious after seeing his buddy fall. He's got a lot of utility left on board here, so this is a bit risky for him to be pushing in here, but with such low manpower left, they got to start making a move.
They had tons of time to reset GCR, and they have not done that. That could end up being something that really bites them now.
Especially when he's carrying the diffuser.
Exactly, and I mean, he doesn't have any frag grenades left. Revolt, who was coming up with GCR, and will be down to GCR on camera. Tries to shoot at a bulletproof camera, but as its name would suggest, not quite as easy. FK1 just tries to go through conference room, but he'll find cameraman on the other side, and the shadow of GCR is the last one that is up, and he'll meet cameraman as well as the Mira rotates out of conference room, gets the kill on the top of main stairs. FaZe will equalize yet again back to 4-4. There's only 2 rounds left. We're going to move to match point at the end of this round, but ultimately, just as similar as we saw on a number of other defenses, you can't get your attack started. FaZe struggled with it a little bit. Now Payne struggled with it right there. That was a great C4 that literally blew the round open.
Yeah, that was a big game changer and well played.
And after that happened, the C4 goes off, you lose your hard breacher, you don't get the wall because it gets impact tricked. You saw all of Payne had to fully rotate. That ate up about a minute of the round in order for them to get over to the main lobby. And then once they started to go through that main lobby, well, they didn't get too far.
Nope. They are going to be going back down to lockers here for FaZe, so we'll see if they can successfully defend it yet again. So far, they've defended lockers fine and CEO. So that puts them on par with Payne successfully defending 2 bomb sites as well. We'll see, though, if they're able to hold lockers off a second time, which is exactly what Payne was able to do. Because I got to imagine they're going to be a little more predictable in it this time. Last time, though, it was a little bit down to the attempted smoke play for the plant. This time, instead of depending entirely on smoke for the plant, they're going to bring Candelas as well. So we'll see if that works a little more effectively. Of course, there are going to be ADSs from Astra to try and stop that, as well as the Evil Eyes from Cameraman to potentially see through any smoke into the actual bomb site, which will help with those C4 or smoke throws. So I think both are in a good position to try and exploit weaknesses of the other, but I think overall FaZe are in a much better position to stop this because Mav is going to be tucked away in gold and not blinded by the Candelas, able to get a reading on them along with that Evil Eye, so they're not really going to be blinded or stopped too much by those Candelas. All that's going to do is maybe stop Mira peeking for a second. Or there's no Mira anyways, what am I saying? It's going to stop maybe smoke for a second, I suppose. But either way, it is a good position for the defenders to be in with the lineup they have on this particular bomb site. So it's going to be all up to Payne to try and find some weaknesses early on and maybe pick off a player or two, or at least try and catch someone on the roam if they don't turtle up completely, which they might just do.
Payne, this change to Ying could possibly quite literally bring their name to the fight here, as Ying is particularly debilitating when you're trying to focus on CCTV. And one of the best assets that FaZe has had when they've been defending downstairs has been controlling the doorway into CCTV. So much so that last time that we saw Pain attack this site, the Thermite realized it was an unwise idea to try and take the wall and just dropped right straight through the hatch above into the midst of the site, completely enshrouded in smoke. Interesting, there is still some site work being done. A minute into round number 9, Moringa will expend every single shotgun shell that he has available just to make sure that the site is tailor-made to the defense that FaZe is going to provide. It's going to come late. That kind of site work can possibly be your undoing if a team rushes quite quickly, and we've seen a number of rushes come out from Latin America teams so far this season, especially involving, you know, Finca, Blitz, Sledge, etc. Spawns from above is going to light up Mav. It's going to get choked out by some smoke and just continue to fire away, hoping to find a target. Spawn's losing just a small, tiny bit of his HP, so ultimately a pretty good trade for the Jackal there in the fact that he walks away victorious in that altercation.
Still makes me wonder what Mav was doing inside there. Should have been playing a bit more towards the vault, but I think he's in position now. They are doing a good job droning things out, though, to get the actual positioning of these players.
I do want to commend Moringa on his control of that SMG-11 so far that we've seen today. Keep in mind that all of the secondary SMGs saw, with the exception of the C75, saw quite an adjustment in their recoil patterns, making it a lot less easy to hold on to those guns as you fire away. But Moringa's been doing an exemplary job. C4 in hand from Yuna as they're going to telegraph the push. Yuna will toss it out through the second hole of 5-9XT. The Thermite drops yet again. Gunned down by the Alda is GCR. Cameraman just pulverizing him, playing by the stairs as Astro. Cameraman will jump in, and there's 2 bodies here. Mav will take one down, and both bodies inside of Mav's line of sight. Cameraman will get him, and Astro is there with Cameraman being credited for the final kill. There you go. Mav getting a big kill, and Cameraman lining up the last 2. Only credited with 1 kill that round. But FaZe will take the lead here, and it's going to be their first lead since the 3rd round. It comes at a pretty good time. FaZe guaranteed 1 point. This could be a huge victory, as I said earlier on. They're sitting at 22 points atop the standings in Latin America. They get these 3 points. They go up to 25. That puts them almost out of reach of Liquid for sure, and it means that Immortals will have to win their matchup today if they want to try to challenge FaZe for first overall. Else you end up in a position where you're going to need to win every single game from here on out to take that first place away from them.
Well, I got to give a lot of credit to Yuna for that last round because he was holding a C4. A drone comes flying at his face, catches his position. What does he do? Moves a few feet to the other side, throws through a different hole, knowing that they dropped that hatch. That was so well timed, and I feel like that was their downfall right there. The fact that they thought they had it because they pushed him off with a drone absolutely did not work. So really well read by him. Smart heads-up play. And that does put them in a great position, as you said, to try and take this first place and deny a tie here for Pain, who have tied both times they played this. Will we get 3? Definitely a possibility here. This could be the 3rd tie for Pain if they can bring it. So far, though, Tellers is the only bomb site they have failed to defend successfully. So this could be it. This could be where they have to go to their weakest bomb site so far against Pain. Maybe Pain take it and bring that tie. If not, if they shore it up a little bit, then they go home the victor, and as you said, start to put themselves out of reach of the other 2 teams.
The one thing for Pain, as you noted, they've yet to win this map here so far in Pro League. They've tied it twice. His 3rd time a charm for Pain to go for that tie because that's the best they're going to get. They can't win, obviously. But I think it really does speak to the fact that Pain, no matter who their adversary is, they're able to keep it close on this map, which I know that they don't walk away with outright victories, but that's still a, that's still a nice feather to have in your cap. Yeah, and that's still a point. To be able to take 2. I mean, out of 6 points, 2 out of 6 doesn't seem like that much in the grand scheme of things. But on another possible map that could have been a loss, that ultimately ends up going in favor of Pain mathematically. Now, final setup here. And once again, we're going to go down to Teller's Archives. And by doing so, what you're going to see is a very similar setup to FaZe that we had last time around. Astro was the first person to fall for FaZe. Got absolutely pulverized by GCR, if I remember correctly, as they opened up the wall inside of CEO. Once again, CEO is going to be the main focus of FaZe's defense. And there you have it. Exothermic charge going down. Are we going to see an impact trick here? It misses. So the wall will go open. Astro using both impact grenades, and he will have to just scoot away.
Unfortunate timing for him. Seems to be that Thermite is able to get away with it multiple times now. FaZe just can't seem to deny it, but Yuna going to try a nice denial with that C4, find 9X, who's, I'd say, been a pivotal operator, and now the only hard breacher is down.
I mean, the hard breach did do their job. They were able to open up CEO, which means that establishing control on that second floor will be much easier for Pain had they not succeeded in doing so.
But you really want that second one for downstairs.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can even possibly use it for a hatch if need be, if you want to put peripheral pressure on the site. FK1 seeing the head of, I believe that was the Legion for just a second, and a pre-fire onto nobody in particular. Mav goes down to Revolt. Astro trades it off onto GCR, so both teams will lose one. Revolt's circling, trying to find the Legion, but Astro, a beautiful shot. Cameraman outduels FK1, and we are heading for a FaZe victory. All 3 points on the line here in spawns. I think you can see understanding how difficult his task is. Down at Soda Machine, he's going to see the castle of Cameraman. He cannot land enough shots. Cameraman losing some HP, but spawns very, very low. We'll toss out a smoke canister just to give himself a bit of covering fire. Another smoke grenade will go down. A pre-fire, but Astro is there, and he'll jump right on top of the final member of Pain, and that's all, folks. FaZe Clan with a big 3 points to stretch out their lead, sitting atop the Latin America scoreboard. They pull it out in the dying minutes of this game.
Well done. Hey, at least you can say Pain didn't tie it for once, although I don't think this is a better outcome for them, obviously. Either way, though, I think they have a good bank game. They just can't seem to close it out. But this was against FaZe, the one who, as you mentioned, is number one top of the board right now. So if you're going to lose to anyone by that 2 points, better to be to the top team, of course. But I think well played by Pain in a lot of ways. It just felt like when FaZe were able to shut it down, they really shut it down.